Hello, wonderful people. This is Stephanie Nadolny for Wonderbot Animals, and here is... A tourist saves a wild impala in distress, but the story's got a major twist that changes everything. Before we begin, make sure to click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification button for more amazing videos. It fills our hearts with joy when we hear someone doing something selfless, like when a tourist saved a wild impala in distress during a wild safari. But it turns out that there's a bigger truth behind Steve Haley, the Canterbury chef who allegedly saved the day. Haley had been on safaris in the past, but his latest trip turned out way different from any past adventures. Although he makes his living as a chef, now he's being hailed as a wildlife hero, and as a result, we're questioning social media altogether. The first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word Impala is the 1967 Chevrolet Impala, which is a pretty great car, but you'd never assume it was a medium-sized antelope with lyre-shaped ringed horns. You've probably seen a Chevy Impala on Supernatural, a show about two demon-hunting brothers who fight the good fight across the country. But wild Impalas are a totally different subject altogether, and Haley would be up close and personal with one. Impalas are native to woodlands of eastern and southern Africa. They prefer to munch on plants rather than load up on a full tank of gas. In fact, there's plenty of grass and herbs for them to eat during the region's rainy season. Talking about the rainy season, these animals might thrive on a lot of food and water, but they must also stick with the herd to ward off predators. However, one Impala was left all alone and would have died if not for this kind man. Impalas look like a cross between a deer and a goat, because they have long necks and legs like the former, but have black horns like the latter. They're also related to goats, cattle, and sheep, and they have something in common with dogs. Impalas have 4 legs just like dogs, but they also weigh anywhere from 88 to 165 pounds, which is about the same weight as a large dog. But don't scare them off, because they're fantastic runners. We just wish this one Impala in distress wouldn't have been able to run by himself and get away without any help from strangers. In a herd, an Impala will bark out to the others when a predator like a lion shows up. And once they're aware of the danger, a hunter will have a really tough time trying to catch up to them. These amazing animals are such great runners that they can escape their predators and live another day. However, when one of them is injured or unable to run when supposed to, things don't go in their favor. Haley knew it very well, considering he's seen the African wildlife for days. Impalas are terrific runners. They can also leap up to 33 feet, which makes them very difficult for predators to catch them. They will also use their abilities to soar 10 feet over obstacles like tall bushes, but they're very standoffish. Young Impalas are known as creches, and they tend to roam together. Think of it as a nursery school for Impalas, who like to groom each other and play together. They're truly beautiful creatures to run into a wild safari, particularly if you enjoy taking photos. Steve Haley from Canterbury is a chef who loves going on safaris. In fact, he visits the Kruger National Park where the entire incident took place. And he never expected to find what he did on that fateful day. He had taken a tent, rented a car, and camped at the national park for about 8 weeks. He had seen tons of wild animals during his self-safari, but one in particular needed his help. The man was expecting to have a great time in the outdoors, seeing wild animals and perhaps snap a few photographs of the Impala herds and their babies. But he had no idea that he will become a hero. Prepare to be amazed. Haley noticed that the Impala couldn't stand, but to make things worse, its herd had decided to move on without it. The poor animal was stranded and alone, and it didn't know what to do. The herd couldn't help their own kind because the poor animal was stuck in the mud. They had to leave it alone and care for themselves in case predators came close. Unfortunately, this Impala wouldn't stand a chance. Haley had to do something. Pretty soon, there'd be headlines saying that a tourist saved a wild Impala in distress. Meanwhile, the Impala was stuck, and it did everything it could to get out of the water. But it continued to sink deeper and deeper. The water hole was man-made, and for the next 30 minutes, the male Impala struggled not to drown. Then, Haley decided that he couldn't watch any longer, and he leapt into action. Haley knew that if he did nothing, predators like lions, hyenas, and leopards would take advantage of the Impala's predicament. But he wasn't about to let that happen. He thought about his possibilities. He could have contacted experts to come help, but this would have meant too much wasted time. Haley had to act right away, so he headed to his car and realized that he was on his own. This is what he did. Haley got in his rental car and drove closer to the Impala. Then he removed his shoes and socks and walked in front of the animal. There was no time to waste, but could he do the impossible? With only moments to spare, Haley crouched down, grabbed the Impala by its antlers, and pulled it out of the waterhole. Then, the animal caught its breath while Haley did the same. But there was something wrong with it. The Impala left the scene shortly after it had been rescued, but it wasn't doing so well. It appeared to be limping. Maybe it had been stuck for so long that its legs needed to get their circulation back. But did he do the right thing? Some would say that the selfless act was heroic, but others would say that Haley should have allowed nature to take its course. It's sad to think, but it's the circle of life. By saving the Impala, he denied another wild animal the chance to feed. The heroic footage can be seen on YouTube, and it's so inspiring that you would want to applaud. But Haley doesn't consider himself a hero, but he's not trying to be modest either. In a crazy turn of events, the real Steve Haley came out and explained that everyone had the story mixed up. Everyone believed a tourist saved a wild Impala in distress. Except, it wasn't Haley. They got the story mixed. I am the person filming. This is what makes it so funny. Still good to have my 2 minutes of fame. That is not me pulling out the Impala. Unless I have doubled my weight in the last year, he commented on Facebook. The real Haley seems to be having a blast posting viral stories from the media that seem to be missing a few key facts. Even the fact that the footage isn't recent whatsoever. He continued to joke on Facebook and said, "Famous at last. This is one of the funniest things I have ever seen or heard in my life, and I can't stop watching it. Completely wrong unless I put on some weight. But hilarious Americans have made my day and hopefully made me some money." He responded to a friend's comment on Facebook, claiming he hoped to make a bit of money from the footage he shot. But that wasn't the only twist to this story. Apparently, there's more. I filmed this in 2015 and forgot about it. So put it on Facebook and YouTube and then got a message from Cater's News. Signed some contracts, and they said they would put it out there, so fingers crossed.